Most QA engineers have a GitHub profile with 3 random test scripts and nothing else. No README. No folder structure. No context. No explanation of what application is being tested or why. A hiring manager opens it, spends 10 seconds looking at a single Python file named test_login.py with 2 test functions and a handful of hard-coded URLs, and immediately moves on to the next candidate. Here is the thing, a QA portfolio is not a collection of files that happen to contain the word test. It is a demonstration of how you think, how you organize your work, how you communicate your decisions. In this episode, we are building a QA portfolio project from scratch the right way. Not just the tests themselves. The folder structure, the documentation, the fixtures, the CI pipeline, all of it. We are going to build something that a hiring manager opens and immediately says, this person knows what they are doing. By the end of this episode, you will have a clear blueprint for a portfolio project that gets you the interview. And that distinction, having something that actually demonstrates competence instead of just claiming it, is what separates the candidates who get callbacks from the ones who never hear back. Let us start with folder structure, because this is literally the first thing a hiring manager sees when they open your repository on GitHub. Before they read a single line of code, before they look at your test names, before they click on anything, they see the root directory. And that directory tells them immediately whether you have worked on a real codebase before. At the root level you need exactly 5 things, a readme.md, a requirements.txt, a conftest.py, a pytest.ini or setup.cfg for configuration, and a .github folder for your CI workflow. Inside the project, create 4 directories. Tests, which holds all your test files organized by feature area. Pages, which holds your page object model classes. Utils, which holds shared helpers like API clients and configuration loaders. And data, which holds test fixtures, sample JSON payloads, and any seed data your tests need. This structure tells a hiring manager 2 things immediately and clearly. First, you understand separation of concerns. Tests are not mixed with page objects, which are not mixed with utilities. Second, you have worked on a team before, because you organize things in a way that a stranger can navigate. A flat structure with all files dumped in one folder signals the opposite. It signals someone who has only ever written tests for themselves. The README is the single most important file in your entire portfolio project. Do not underestimate it. Do not write 3 lines and move on. Your README is your cover letter, your documentation, and your demo all in one place. It is what a hiring manager reads when they cannot tell from the code alone what you were thinking. Here is what a strong portfolio README contains. Start with a 1-sentence description of what the project tests, the application, the feature area, and the goal. Then a tech stack section listing every tool you used and a brief reason why you chose it. Not just Selenium, Pytest, Python, but why those tools. What problem does each one solve in this project? Follow that with a setup section showing exactly how to clone and run the tests locally. 3 commands or fewer. Clone. Install. Run. If it takes more than that, the README is incomplete. Add a test strategy section describing what you are testing, what you deliberately chose not to test, and why. This shows strategic thinking, not just execution. End with a CI badge at the very top of the README that shows the current test status. A green passing badge tells a hiring manager 3 things in 2 seconds. Your tests are real. They actually run. And they pass. That one detail alone separates you from the majority of QA portfolio projects on GitHub. Now let us talk about what the actual tests should cover, because this is where most QA portfolio projects make a second critical mistake. They try to test everything across multiple applications, end up with shallow coverage of everything, and end up demonstrating depth of nothing. Do not try to test multiple apps. Pick one real, publicly available application and go deep on one feature area. Good options that are free, stable, and well documented include the REST Countries API, the Wreckers Demo API for authentication and user management, or the Sauce Demo e-commerce site for full end-to-end web flows. Pick one application. Pick one feature area. And write tests that cover it completely. That means the happy path, the error cases, the boundary conditions, the edge cases, and at least one complete end-to-end user journey from start to finish. Your goal is 15 to 20 tests that are well named, well organized, and each verify exactly one specific behavior. A hiring manager reading your test name should understand exactly what the application does and how it behaves without reading a single line of test code. Test names are documentation. They should read like a specification. Something like, test login with valid credentials returns dashboard, or test login with incorrect password returns error message with status 401. That level of specificity in naming shows craft. And craft gets you hired. One of the most overlooked parts of a QA portfolio project is the conftest.py file, and it is overlooked precisely because beginners do not know it exists or do not understand what it does. The conftest is where your PyTest fixtures live. Fixtures are reusable setup and teardown functions that tests can declare as dependencies instead of repeating the setup code in every single test function. Your conftest should contain at minimum 3 fixtures. First, a browser fixture that sets up the WebDriver or Playwright browser instance before the test and tears it down and closes the browser after the test completes. Second, a base URL fixture that reads from an environment variable so the tests are fully environment agnostic. Run them against staging by setting one environment var. Run them against production by setting a different one. No code changes required. Third, a logged-in user fixture that handles the authentication flow once and provides an authenticated session to any test that needs it, so individual tests do not repeat login steps that have nothing to do with what they are actually testing. When a hiring manager looks at a contest with 3 clean, well-named fixtures and sees that the test files use them as simple function arguments, they know you understand PyTest at a level beyond just writing test functions. It is a signal that you can work on a team, that you think about maintainability, and that you would not create chaos in a shared codebase. Before you share your portfolio project with anyone, before you put the link on your resume, before you mention it in a cover letter, before you paste it in a LinkedIn DM, run through this checklist and make sure you can answer yes to every question. First, does the README make the project instantly understandable to a complete stranger in under 2 minutes? Ask someone who has not seen it to read it and tell you what the project does. If they cannot, rewrite it. Second, do all the tests pass when you clone the repository fresh to a new directory and run them? Not from your existing environment. Fresh clone, fresh install. If they break, fix them before sharing. Third, is there a GitHub Actions CI workflow that runs automatically on every push and shows a live badge? Fourth, are your test names specific enough that someone could read them like a feature specification? Fifth, does the folder structure look intentional and professional, not accidental? If you can answer yes to all 5, you have a portfolio project that stands out from the vast majority of what hiring managers see. In the next episode, we are going to go deeper on writing the test plan document that sits alongside this project and shows the strategic thinking behind your testing decisions. Subscribe so you do not miss it. I will see you in the next one.